Hello, my friends. A new novel, a new world. In the heart of the blazing desert, under a merciless sun, three men, brought together by nothing but a single dream, to escape the pain and search for life beyond the borders. From Jaffa, from Baisan, from Haifa to Basra, to the gates of Kuwait, their silent journey begins, but it does not end as they had hoped. In a novel considered one of the most shocking and profound Arab texts, Ghassan Kanafani opens a torrent of questions and leaves us with an unforgettable cry. Why didn't they bang on the walls of the tank? A journey in the darkness and a voice in the silence. This is not just a novel about refugees, it is the story of a homeland that died on the way. Chapter 1. Men from a lost homeland, awaiting their fate. On a scorching morning in Iraq, where the sun burns the desert as if wanting to erase the earth and all upon it, the novel begins, not with a dramatic event, but with a deep silence. On the outskirts of Baghdad, in a cramped room for Palestinian refugees, three men gather. They know each other only by fate, and nothing brings them together except the escape from hunger, the search for a lost dignity, and a homeland of which nothing remains but a name. Abu Qais, from Jaffa, coastal Palestine. He is the first to appear in the novel, a man past 50, worn down by age and exile. He came from Jaffa, the coastal city he lost after the Nakba. Abu Qais's eyes are always looking back, to the olive tree that stood in his courtyard, to his wife who died, to his land that was stolen. At the beginning of the novel, we see him sitting alone in the Iraqi sand, like a stone cast out from its natural place. He fears the journey, he fears dying inside a truck's tank, but he also fears remaining without work or hope. Abu Qais knew he was afraid. He tried to find a reason for it, but could not. Despite his weakness, he is driven by a hidden force, his hungry children in Beirut, who are waiting for him to be the man, to bring them bread. Can he possibly turn back now? Asaad, from Jericho, eastern Old Palestine, Jordan Valley. The second character to enter the scene. A young man in his early 20s, from Jericho, the Palestinian desert city near the border. His body carries a wound on his foot, but he does not stop, for he has tried crossing the border before and failed. Asaad is impulsive, indignant, and dislikes caution or waiting. He claims to know all the routes and accuses others of cowardice and hesitation. He sees in Abu Qais the image of the old generation that lost, and in himself the new generation that will try until death. I will not stay here. This country has suffocated me. I will cross, and I will arrive. I walked 60 kilometers in the desert and did not die. So should I die now? Asaad carries in his heart a despair veiled in pride, but he is fragile on the inside, fearing he might fall without ever admitting it. Marwan, from Haifa, northern Palestine. The last to arrive. Marwan is no older than 16. He came from Haifa, the northern city of sea and mountains. He did not know Palestine as Abu Qais did, but he carries it in his blood. He is the son of the Nakba and the Naksa, a child of the camp, and the son of a man who abandoned his family to marry another woman. Marwan represents premature maturity. After his father's marriage, he became the only man in the house. His sick mother and hungry siblings pushed him onto this journey despite his young age. He does not dream of wealth, only of working to buy milk for his brother. I don't want money, I just want to work. I want to work for my mother, for my two brothers. His features hold innocence, but his eyes carry an unbearable sadness. He is the most innocent face of the Palestinian tragedy. The meeting point. Baghdad, the city of waiting. In a small room in Baghdad, their tired bodies are piled up, unaware that they are merely souls walking toward the unknown. They are strangers to one another, yet their fates will intertwine irrevocably. It was not friendship or a cause that brought them together, but urgent need and a final desire for survival. You are from Jaffa, and I am from Jericho, and this one is from Haifa. Look how the diaspora has gathered us in a small house in Baghdad. The place is buzzing with heat, insects, hunger, and sleeplessness, but within each of them is a silent battlefront. The chapter's paradox, from the cities of Palestine to a dark room in Baghdad. Jaffa, Jericho, Haifa, heavy names, spoken in a low voice as if a prayer or a lament. Each came from a different place, yet has lost his place, identity, and language. 3 age groups, 3 stories, 3 catastrophes, but the path is one: the desert, then the tank. Here, the first scene is complete, and Ghassan Kanafani has drawn for us a map of Palestinian pain from north to south, from the first generation to the third. Chapter 2. When Abu Khaizuran entered, an illusion was born. Following the first scene, after we have met the 3 men, the novel moves toward its turning point. The moment a 4th character enters their lives. A character who will lead them to their destiny, Abu Khaizuran. The place, Baghdad, its poor outskirts. The time, midday, the heat turning the air to embers and sweat to a curse. In this time and place, they meet Abu Khaizuran, the truck driver, a man of masculine and spiritual loss. A man in his mid-40s, bald with a slender body, who speaks quickly with excessive confidence as if leaving no room for doubt or hesitation. But behind this confidence lies a chasm not easily seen. In his youth, he was a fighter in Palestine. He was wounded in the war, and his testicles were amputated in an Egyptian hospital, an incident that changed everything. No one knows I lost my manhood. Do you know what it means to be a man without manhood? This devastating sentence, which he whispers later, is the key to understanding Abu Khaizuran's character. He is not just a smuggler for these men. He is also a victim, a loser in an existential battle, just like them. The grand plan, crossing the border, inside a water tank. In the second scene, Abu Khaizuran presents the 3 men with a perilous plan. He works as a truck driver, transporting water from Iraq to Kuwait. Through his connections with the guards at the checkpoints, he can smuggle them in the empty water tank for a large sum of money. The deal: when a man trades his life for a crumb of a dream. In the small room reeking of sweat and alienation, the 4 sat facing each other as if at a gambling table. But what they were betting here was not money, but survival. Abu Khaizuran took out a cigarette, lit it confidently, and exhaled the smoke slowly as if showing off his control of the situation. The eyes of the 3 were fixed on him, waiting for him to say something that would change their fate. Then he said, in a calm but charged tone, "The borders are closed, the roads are monitored, but I have a way. I have a water tank, empty of course. You will get in it in Baghdad, and I will get you out in Kuwait in a matter of hours." A heavy silence crept into the room as if someone had shut the door on the air. Abu Qais asked in a faint, trembling voice, "Inside the tank? Under this sun?" Abu Khaizuran shrugged and replied in a businesslike tone, "It won't be more than 15 minutes at the border. I know the soldiers. Everything is paid for. All you have to do is be patient for a little while. Just don't make a sound." Asaad was the first to break the hesitation. He clasped his hands behind his head and smiled bitterly. "I crossed the border on foot, without food or water. What's a tank? I'll sleep a little and wake up in Kuwait." As for Marwan, he was still. He said nothing, just clutched his bag as if it were his only shield, then asked in the voice of a child trying to act like a man, "So, there's no inspection? No danger?" Abu Khaizuran smiled but didn't answer directly. He scanned the 3 faces, then said, "Danger? Everything has danger, but the real danger is staying here, sleeping on sidewalks, searching for a bite to eat, suffering. This is my offer. You cross without papers, without problems. You just have to be patient and pay the money. And here, the deal turned from an idea into a reality. Abu Qais sold his wedding ring. He said it wasn't worth much, but held a memory. He didn't dare look at it as he handed it over. Asaad took the money out of his sock. He had kept it since his first attempt to cross the border. Marwan, who had nothing, said, "My mother sold her ring, and my aunt sold her jewelry, and she told me, 'Don't come back until you have a job.'" The money was collected. They agreed on the departure time. Abu Khaizuran pointed to the truck's tank. In that moment, none of them had the luxury of thinking. The choice was clear. Either jump into the unknown inside a suffocating metal chamber, or a slow death in the great camp that had become another name for the lost Palestine. And so, the deal was signed. Not with ink, but with exhaustion, fear, longing, and hunger. The collective unconscious. Everyone knows the danger, but there is no choice. Here, Kanafani begins to draw the philosophical vision of the novel. Each character knows in his heart that the plan is dangerous. Everyone realizes that relying on Abu Khaizuran, on luck, and on unreliable connections is absurd. But no one can back down, because life has left them no alternatives. And so, the deal is sealed. Each one pays the required amount, carries his small bag and some water, and they head towards the tank, towards a temporary or permanent absence. The duality of hope and betrayal. This scene, with its silent theatrical technique, resembles a deal with the devil. The three men want to cross, but they sell a piece of their humanity and trust. And Abu Khaizuran, the smuggler who lost his manhood and his dream, reenacts his own wounds through others. At the end of this scene, the journey begins. The truck's wheels turn over the burning sand, and in its heart are three men inside an iron coffin. Chapter 3. The Iron Tank. Gateway to the Abyss. At dawn the next day, before the desert sun of Iraq intensified, the truck set off. Abu Khaizuran sits behind the wheel wearing dark glasses, as if he doesn't want to see more than necessary. He knows the road by heart, and he knows that what he is doing now is not like smuggling, but like transporting souls through hell. Behind him sat Abu Qais, Asaad, and Marwan, each carrying his small bag, some water, and a great deal of fear clinging to his skin like sweat. The first checkpoint, Ramadi, the Iraqi border. The air was hot since dawn. The sand shimmered under the sunlight like shards of glass. As they approached the checkpoint, Abu Khaizuran turned to them with a blank expression and said, "Come on, quickly. Get into the tank now. We have no time." The tank was iron, domed, with no windows and no air vent, only a metal door that locked from the outside. They climbed in one by one. Abu Qais crawled inside hesitantly, dripping with sweat, his heart beating like an old drum. Asaad entered with apparent courage, but his eyes betrayed a hidden anxiety. Marwan, with wide eyes, said before entering, "Just don't be long. The air inside is frightening." Abu Khaizuran closed the door, and silence fell. Outside, the procedures were moving unexpectedly slowly. The soldier who used to laugh with him had changed his tone. He opened covers, checked the tires, asked for new papers. Minutes passed like hours. Inside, the three men were drenched in sweat. The air became heavy, as if the iron was melting on them. Asaad began to gasp. "Where is he? Didn't he say a few minutes? We've been here for a long time." Abu Qais closed his eyes, trying to remember the seawater in Jaffa, but he found only the smell of burning iron. Marwan, in the farthest corner, began to feel dizzy, as if his heart wanted to escape his chest. The heat rises, and time freezes. 15 minutes passed, then 20, then 30. The air inside the tank was unbearable. The temperature surpassed 50 degrees Celsius. Their bodies stuck to the metal wall, and the smell of sweat and panic began to emanate. "Oh, God, are we going to die in here?" Asaad cried out in a faint voice, but no one could hear outside. Abu Khaiz began to feel his chest shrink as if the air was being pulled from his lungs. Marwan lost feeling in his hands and his head drooped onto his chest. Outside, Abu Khaizuran was still waiting. Suddenly, the soldier engaged him in a trivial conversation about a football match. He laughed, took a cigarette, and then talked about his wife. Abu Khaizuran was laughing, but inside his heart an unquenchable fire burned. He knew that every minute meant a gradual death, but he didn't dare ask to hurry. As long as they're not shouting, things must be fine. But no one was shouting in the tank, because screaming requires air. Crossing the border. After it was too late. Finally, the soldier waved his hand. Go on, move. The truck took off. Abu Khaizuran drove like a madman, as if trying to escape from hell. His heart was pounding, his fingers trembled, but he convinced himself that they were fine, that they were strong, that they had endured. Final chapter. Why didn't you knock on the walls of the tank? He reached a safe spot on the outskirts of Kuwait, stopped the truck, jumped out, and ran to the back. He opened the tank door. The smell of hot death wafted out from within. There was no longer any room for doubt. 3 lifeless bodies piled in a terrifying silence. None of them raised his head or cried out or even moved. He looked at them, then fell to his knees and checked them one by one, as if searching for life, even a final breath. The moment of collapse. Facing this scene, Abu Khaizuran did not scream at first, but was silent for a long time. He sat on the dirt, stared at the sun, and then the cry that would become one of the most famous cries in modern Palestinian and Arab literature erupted from him. Why didn't you knock on the walls of the tank? Why? A cry that is not just a question, but an accusation, a torment, and a desperate search for meaning. As if he was saying, why didn't you rebel? Why didn't you resist? Why did you die in silence? A burial without a funeral. He had to act. He didn't have the luxury of grief or time. He drove the truck to the edge of a garbage dump, and there he threw the 3 bodies without a shroud, without a burial, without a witness, without a prayer. 3 men under the sun turned into shadows on the earth. Facing the final guard upon returning to the Kuwaiti gate, he had to provide a justification. He stopped the truck, got out staggering, and went to the gatekeeper, who was sitting in a small booth, waving a paper fan. The guard asked him, pointing to the back of the truck, "Where are your people?" Abu Khaizuran replied in a dry tone, "They got out a little while ago. They left to sort themselves out." Then he fell silent, feeling like he wanted to laugh, or cry, or scream again, but nothing came out. He looked at his broken watch, then started the truck's engine and drove off. The symbolism of this scene. The silence. Their death without a scream represents the silence of the Arab people towards the Palestinian tragedy, a silence akin to death. The tank. A powerful metaphor for the regimes, the borders, the Arab world. A suffocating, closed, solid place with no chance of survival. Abu Khaizuran represents those who tried to escape their past by running away, thus contributing to the tragedy. He carries an unforgivable guilt. The quick burial, an encapsulation of a cause buried without discussion, without being told, without witnesses. Conclusion. The scene ends as the novel began, with false hope and a silent death. Men in the Sun is not just a novel about Palestinian refugees. It is about an entire nation dying in silence inside the tank of history, about generations buried under the sun of betrayal, about youth who are promised a future but find only a mirage. The novel is not just about refugees, but about the loss of will. The silence inside the tank becomes a symbol of the nation's silence. Death comes not only from the occupation, but from within, from betrayal, from silence, from accepting fate without resistance. Ghassan Kanafani does not only blame the occupation, he blames the Arabs themselves, the governments, the people, everyone who closed the door in the face of the refugee and then wondered about his death. Ghassan Kanafani wrote not only about tragedy but about resignation from life, about those who do not knock on the walls and think that patience alone is enough.
Kindly, if you like our work, support us with a like, encouragement, comment, or share so that the benefit may spread.